What's up, everybody? Gun here. I hope this video finds you well. Happy Monday, February 15th, 2021. Anybody else getting burned out, man? This should be the week of the All-Star break, and we should be recharging batteries, tightening up baseball spreadsheets and stuff, but no, we're grinding through it. Hey, that's fine. We will roll with the punches. Last night, happy Valentine's Day belated to you. If you didn't catch the live stream yesterday, I hope you guys enjoyed your day with your significant others, your kids, whoever was your Valentine, and you enjoyed your day, got some chocolate. If you're from Texas or if you're from the South, but especially Texas, where I'm at right now, man, we are iced up and snowed in. Places on lockdown. We're not expecting temperatures to be above freezing for a couple days, and it's just a very unique experience for the majority of the locals. Everything's shut down, man. It's tough. If you guys are in Texas, warm up a little bit. Hit that thumbs up. If you're not in Texas, send us some love. Hit that thumbs up as well. I appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, I'm Gun. You can find me on Twitter, twitter.com/GundackerSports. And what we do with this channel, we've done it for a better part of half a decade, is we chop up DFS slates. I major in basketball, football, and baseball. The majority of my content lately has been in the form of live streams, but I've definitely been wanting to expand a little bit more and go back to what we were great at, and that was some earlier content, give some videos a little bit more soak time, and also an opportunity for a lot of people to find the community. I know when we go live, it's such a limited amount of people that can have that gap or so open in their day, and there's so many other great content providers going live that this one gives you a little taste of who I am. And if you guys want to check out a live stream, you're more than welcome to. We will be live today right here on this channel at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. If you guys are like me and you collect NBA Top Shots, they are doing a drop right as I'm going live, so I'll probably bleed over just a little bit. Well, we'll be live, right? But I'll be in line, and we might do if we get a pack, we might open a pack on the air. But I know a lot of you guys sweat that too, so I can be patient. We'll have the stream on, we'll have music going, whatever. We'll have the chat going, and then we're just hanging out, and then we'll hit the ground running when we're ready. But nonetheless, in this video, I want to accomplish a first look at the slate, kind of encompass what we're going to keep an eye on throughout the day. We're going to go deeper into the slate later on today on the live stream as more news has developed, more thoughts are out there. We kind of keep our ear to the ground, kind of see where the field's at. And then hopefully I'll have a co-host, maybe Raj or somebody will jump on as well. And we'll have some back and forth banter and discussion. So I invite you guys to come hang out with me for that. Link to that stream is in the description below. Click it, set a reminder. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe, hit that notifications bell, and you'll receive a push notification on your mobile device when we do go live. If you guys missed it last week, we did announce a partnership with PrizePicks. If you guys are looking for another way to reward your research, check out PrizePicks.com. I'll pull it up on the main screen. They've made a pretty cool opportunity for members of this community. If you guys sign up on PrizePicks and use code GUNDACKER, they'll actually instantly match your deposit up to $100. So if you just want to try out $10 over there, immediately turn that $10 into $20. Throw a couple cards out there. We've looked at the format. We'll probably discuss a few more picks on PrizePicks today that I like as they come out. Right now, it's pretty early in the morning, so I don't have much. We have a couple fantasy point plays. If you guys are unfamiliar with PrizePicks, it's a great way to kind of bet on prop picks and players, and you can parlay them as little as 2 picks in a card, and as much as 5 picks. You can 10x your money. We saw Shady last night in the RunDFS.com Discord. He ran a pretty simple 3-leg prize pick parlay. Jonas Valanciunas over 11.5 rebounds, Terry Rozier over 19.5 real points, and Dejounte Murray over 5 assists. All of those hit, so he was able to turn $20 into $100, and that's how it works. So if you're already doing the research, you might as well back your research on a site like PrizePicks or on prop bets and sports betting books or what have you. And it's another way to kind of neutralize and diversify your risk a little bit, because if your research is right, It doesn't mean you have the best DFS lineups because guys like Sadiq Bey show up and drop 10, 11x. And if your research is still good, your process is right, you can still maybe make some scratch on your work anyway. So I encourage you guys to check that out. Early on, there's a couple picks I'm looking at. Bradley Beal potentially without Russell Westbrook. He's listed under 48 points. Zach LaVine's listed at 42 points. We'll talk about him a little bit. And those are really the first ones that stuck out to me early on. Sabonis, I think, has room for more than 45. And the scoring on this one, the fantasy point, is based on FanDuel scoring. But as the day progresses, you'll see point prop bets, assists, rebounds, and more players added to choose from. So use code GUNDECKER when you sign up and get up to $100 instantly, no slow drip. And I think it's a pretty great deal. I've been having fun playing on their site. Let's get back into the action. The heart and soul of this video is to take a brief look at what happened last night and look forward at what's on the menu tonight, and just kind of, like I said, set us up stuff to watch throughout the day. Yesterday, the Washington Wizards beat the Boston Celtics during the daytime Sunday afternoon game. Bradley Beal dropped 54 and a quarter fantasy points. Russell Westbrook 42. Westbrook played 29 minutes, and the rest of the Wizards were all pretty diverse in minutes played, and really not needed for fantasy points. It was a showdown slate. A lot of weird stuff happened here. The Celtics were led by Kemba Walker fantasy-wise, but Jason Tatum, just 23 minutes played, 23 fantasy points on 6 real points. Jaylen Brown, 36. So, that game existed yesterday. A lot of you guys that played on the main slate yesterday didn't even look at that game. But the reason why that game could be significant is because Russell Westbrook did play, and we have seen him sit out. Night 2 of back-to-backs, the Pelicans and the Pistons. Shortly before lock, Blake Griffin was ruled out, and Mason Plumlee was rolled in after missing a pair of games. Mason Plumlee was the play. 48.5 DraftKings point. He had a triple-double with just 1 turnover. Sadiq Bey curtain called his big night with a 37 fantasy point game. DeLon Wright, 34 plus. It was a solid win for the Pistons. Looking back, the Charlotte Hornets, we got news that Gordon Hayward would be out after being considered probable. I was actually live on the air on this channel when that happened, so it put a lot of us on full Hornet stack. Unfortunately, that Hornet stack was led, other than LaMelo Ball, for me, led in ownership by Devontae Graham and Miles Bridges. Devontae Graham got injured again, just 19 minutes for him. And Miles Bridges played 37 minutes and contributed just 18 fantasy points. Terry Rozier curtain called a big game with another big game, 30-plus real points for him. LaMelo Ball flirted with a triple-double, just 2 assists shy, 39 minutes, high minutes on both those guys, and it could be that way for the foreseeable future. Malik Monk, I definitely had him as one of my favorite core value plays on FanDuel. That paid off. Maybe I got a little bit lucky with the Devontae Graham injury, but I still paid paid for my sins because I had ample amounts of Devontae. And then I was pretty high on Cody Zeller, but obviously Mason Plumlee was the tournament pivot. But Zeller without PJ Washington and then without Gordon Hayward, he made sense to chip at a chair for a good game. But it wasn't due to big minutes, just 22 minutes played. So when you look back on that next time Hornets are on a slate, don't necessarily pin that on them having no bigs in the front court because they didn't play a lot of big minutes. The San Antonio Spurs, everyone's favorite Spur to play yesterday, might have been DeMar DeRozan, and he's the only starter that didn't achieve value. 28 fantasy points for DeRozan on just 8 shot attempts. Unfortunate, perhaps outlierish outcome for him, but the rest of the Spurs got you there. Jakob Poeltl was in my pool. I think I had him at tier 3 exposure center. Keldon Johnson and Derek White both took 14 and 15 shot attempts respectively. Derek White, I think, was somebody that we could have sniffed out due to him being one of the better three-point shooters on the team. The Hornets do give up a top 3 amount of points per game via the 3-ball. So he was a super solid play, just 27 minutes played with 25 real points. Massive game for him. And then Dejounte Murray, double-double with rebounds, 6 assists to boot for 50-plus fantasy points, 10 for 22, 0 for 5 from behind the arc, and was perfect at the free throw line. So Spurs and Hornets end up being a game stack like we all expected, but maybe some of the pieces we would have been higher on or were higher on, Devontae Graham, Miles Bridges, DeMar DeRozan, all fell flat. So really was a contrarian game stack if you got it the right way. Blazers and the Mavericks, Damian Lillard continued a trend of scoring guards going ham on the Mavericks in the last week. He dropped 34 real points, 11 assists in 36 minutes played, almost 60 fantasy points. The rest of the roster was kind of underwhelming for fantasy. Rocco dropped 31 and a quarter. I did have a decent chunk of Gary Trent Jr., just 21 and a quarter DKP, 13 shot attempts, 3 for 8 from behind the arc, but 36 minutes played. So somebody I'd probably go back to in the near future. Luka Doncic was upset at that loss, 66 and a quarter DKP for him. A couple peripheral shy of a triple-double, 36 minutes for him. The rest of the Mavericks, including Kristaps Porzingis, were pretty much irrelevant at the end of the night. The Lakers and the Denver Nuggets, significant injury news from the Lakers. Anthony Davis re-aggravated his Achilles injury, went down in that game after 14 minutes of action, did not come back. Frank Vogel said that AD said he re-aggravated that injury, so look for him to miss some time, and that's going to continue the need, the pressure, and the minutes and usage for LeBron James. And then keep an eye on what Kyle Kuzma has been doing the last couple games. It's easy to kind of inflate the stats because of how many overtime games the Lakers have played at home against some scrub squads, the Thunder, the Pistons, teams like that. But he is a guy that should thrive in theory without AD in the near future. On the Nuggets side, Jamal Murray ended up playing. We still had no Gary Harris, no Will Barton, but a couple weird names stepped up. I was on JaMychal Green, Monte Morris, but Campazzo at bare bones min, 27.75 DKP. And then Zeke got some action after Paul Millsap got injured and he didn't come back. And JaMychal Green saw just 14 minutes due to foul trouble, 5 personal fouls there. So that game went a little bit wonky. Michael Porter Jr., 30 minutes, just 8 real points, 17 and a quarter, 3 for 11, 1 for 7 from downtown. Jokic, 63 and a half. Another strong 60 bomb for him. I didn't have much Jokic because I thought AD in the lineup would, kind of push me backwards defensively, but AD going down kind of benefited there. But I was fine at center. And then the Cavs and the Clippers, midway through the slate, Kawhi Leonard got ruled out with I think it was lower thigh bruise or something like that. And that opened up an opportunity for Lou Williams at 6,300 to be one of the better plays on the slate. 30 real points, 10 assists. Serge Ibaka dropped 44 and a quarter in 29 minutes. Marcus Morris Sr., 39 and a half. Pat Bev, 16 real points, 6 boards, 5 assists, a little bit of everything in just 20 minutes. So that definitely shook things up. Obviously, a lot of us would have been on some of these Cavs at a higher exposure pre-flop if we knew Kawhi was out, with Paul George already being out. So that was a little bit unfortunate. Andre Drummond also was ruled out for rest before this game. We had a little conversation about Drummond's price point yesterday on the live stream. He'll be back at a cheap price today against the Golden State Warriors. I'm curious to see if they sign him up for action tonight, if they maybe rest Jared Allen or something crazy like that. I don't know. Jared Allen was ended up being one of my higher owned plays. He was kind of an average play at the end of the day, 28 minutes for him. Really no one on the Cavs or someone that you had to have, but if you had JaVale McGee and Jetty Osman, you probably didn't feel the worst. Moving on, the Bucks got stunned by the short-handed Thunder, 114 to 109. Bucks have been in a couple games lately where I know they're without Drew Holiday, but a couple games lately where maybe they're skidding, maybe they need that break too. This is that time of year where a lot of players' bodies, maybe they're ready for that all-star break, and we're already on a short offseason as it is, so maybe some of these teams are just looking to gas for air. But Al Horford, 30 minutes for him, 20 real points. Justin Jackson stepped up, 34 minutes on him, 36 DKP. Then Baisley, Lou Dort, Ham Diallo. I think he ended up not starting this game. 26 minutes on him. Kenrich Williams, 23. Isaiah Rowe with 20. And then on the Bucs side, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 74.75. He led the entire slate in fantasy points. Bobby Portis, 35. We liked Bobby Portis in a blowout. 28 minutes on him. And then Middleton, another underwhelming game. And his assists, man, they went back down after I've been so high on his assist prop the last two slates. The Magic and the Phoenix Suns, when it was official that Evan Fournier, Cole Anthony, and James Ennis were going to be out, I did alert the Discord, one, that they were out, but two, that I was interested in the Magic team total under. It dropped to 100 points, and they only scored 90. Going against a tough defense on the road without any of their scorers, no Aaron Gordon, no Fournier, no Cole Anthony, I just felt like this would have been a spot where their offense just doesn't get it done, and they didn't. Got smacked by 19 points at the end of the day. Devin Booker, 27 points. I think he was a three-pointer shy of continuing the stretch of 30-plus real-point games. I stayed completely away from this game. Even after lock, I didn't pivot to it, but Terrence Ross, in a sea of guys where I was sitting on Gary Trent, Devontae Graham, guys like that, Terrence Ross would have been a fantastic play. So if you guys had some T-Ross, did some late swapping, good on you. MCW saw 30 minutes after seeing 27 minutes the game before. We even saw Mo Bamba and Chuma Okeke get some run here, but nothing really to write home about, and that's kind of what we expected. The Timberwolves upset the Toronto Raptors. Raptors' highest scorer was Pascal Siakam with 42 fantasy points. Cat led the T-Wolves at 45 and a quarter, 8 for 11. Didn't take a lot of shot attempts. Usually, 15 to 20 shot attempts for him, but still double-double, 33 minutes, pretty efficient. And then Memphis at Sacramento. We were sitting on the De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley news. Fox was in. Bagley missed the second game. In the Memphis side, J-Val was, I think, a Tier 1 center for me on both sides. 26 minutes for him. Game got a little lopsided, and he got a little bit chippy there at the end. But it was a great play, almost 2x per minute. Kyle Anderson, how did he get tickets? 29 minutes, 41 for him. The rest of the lineup, underwhelming, especially John Morant. I had higher hopes for John Morant here, going against a league worst defense without guys like D'Anthony Melton, Desmond Bane, a really short guard rotation. So that was your night. That was your Valentine's Day slate. Hope you guys prospered and made money. If you didn't, there's always tomorrow, which is today, and this is our first look at today's slate. I want to remind you guys, if you want access to my proprietary spreadsheets, my projections for DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, and PrizePicks, you can do so and also support the daily streams, support the channel by going to rundfs.com, getting yourself a VIP subscription, sign up, go to VIP passes, find something right for you. We have week passes, 2-week passes, month passes, and you can also lock in the rest of the year. And once you do that, you go to forums, you click VIP onboarding thread. There will be a link to the spreadsheet and a link to the VIP Discord. We had some NASCAR coverage yesterday. Hope you guys did well at Daytona. And then like I said, we got spring training around the corner, and we'll have baseball at the beginning of April. And I love everyone out there, but nothing touches the baseball spreadsheet. And almost everybody that's ever come in contact with the baseball spreadsheet agrees with that one, right? But for now, if you guys want access to the NBA spreadsheet, it'll have the index portal. It'll have easy to read, easy to navigate, understand metrics tabs, DVP tabs, and then, like I said, the projections, player props, and then what a lot of people like to do is cross-reference their player pools with mine. I list my DraftKings and FanDuel player pools, my tier 1s, 2s, 3s, my values, stuff like that. So if you guys want to compare your notes with mine, I'll show you yours. Wait, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. I messed that up. F me. Let's cut. Take it from the top. No, we can't cut. Okay, well, we're going to keep going. We're live, pal. Gene Okerlund. All right, today's slate. 7 games on the docket for FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a normal lock time, 7 p.m. Game number one, we're going to talk about Chicago Bulls and the Indiana Pacers, what we're looking for. So first of all, Doug McDermott is questionable with knee soreness. He represents 29 or more minutes in 5 of his last 6 games for the Pacers. And the hope is that he can go. If he can't, we'll see what they tie together. You might get some weird lineups with Aaron Holiday, Justin Holiday, something like that. I'm not even going to say it. Larry Markkinen and Otto Porter remain out for the Bulls. Chandler Hutchison's also expected to continue to be out, while Wendell Carter Jr. is questionable. He hasn't played since January 18th with a quad injury. He was a full participant in Sunday's practice. If he's held out, Daniel Gafford, Thad Young continue to benefit. If he's in, I'm worried because I want to take advantage of one of the better recency bias matchups. And that right now for me is centers against the Indiana Pacers. They're getting it done. Put some names in your life if you want. Let me pull up the Chicago Bulls here. Clint Capella, 28 minutes for him against the Pacers front court, 43.5 DKP. He shot 12 for 17, a lot of dunks, 10 rebounds. Isaiah Stewart, with no Mason Plumlee, 32 minutes on him, 33.25 DKP, 8 for 9 with 7 boards. DeAndre Jordan, who's almost never relevant in fantasy, 37 minutes played for him, 36.75, so still a point per minute pace there, 5 for 8 with 13 rebounds. Rudy Gobert, 31 minutes, 43 DKP, 16 boards. And Steven Adams was a smooth 30 for 30, 12 rebounds, shot a perfect 5 for 5. If we look at that team metrics chart, if you look at that team DVP chart in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet, you'll find that the Indiana Pacers have been league average at best, and tacked on with these recent great performances, I would be interested in a Thad Young, maybe a Gafford at a cheap enough price, but mostly a Thad Young. But Wendell Carter Jr. being back in the mix, perhaps on a minutes restriction, would be enough to make me a little bit annoyed. But if we did get news that Wendell Carter was not on a restriction, I'd probably have to do some meditating. Carter today, if we type his name in here, he comes into us at load the price, 59.6K. Oof. And meanwhile, Thaddeus Young, who has just been getting it done no matter what, has started to go backwards in price, 6,100 on both sites. With this matchup, with those potential minutes, with no marketing, with possibly no Wendell Carter, I definitely want to take some shots on Thad Young if that happens for me. Now let's talk about Zach LaVine. He's 9,600 on FanDuel, 9,200 on DraftKings. Zach LaVine, DKP by game log without Larry Markkinen last 10 games. LaVine's put up a pretty solid puncher's chance at 40 to 50 fantasy points. 47, 65, 48, 55, 66, 59. You get the picture. We wish it was a little cheaper. South side of 9K would be great, but he does give you a chip and a chair for 50-plus fantasy points, so he's in the conversation for me. Kobe White as well. Looking at the Pacer side, I'm a sucker for Brogdon under 8K. Why can't I quit you? I'm going to go right back to the well. Domantas Sabonis could be one of the highest scorers on the slate. And then Doug McDermott, like we said, his range of outcomes are pretty volatile. But against the Chicago Bulls, the Pacers are going to get an opportunity to run at a pretty high pace style of play. The Bulls run the third fastest pace in the league, and they're going against a porous defense. Chicago Bulls have a bottom 10 defensive efficiency. So should be a good spot for everyone to thrive. The regulars, the Brogdon, Sabonis, the Turner. Last slate, I think 5 Pacers were a good play for that 4-game slate. I do want to highlight what TJ McConnell's been doing lately. He's really earned a role off the bench and has been pretty efficient for fantasy. 39, 31, 28 DKP in his last 3 games, 26 or more minutes. A couple of games got lopsided, but the couple games are just him going out there and doing what TJ McConnell does. If you've been following him last couple seasons, we love playing him when he was off the bench in Philly. I definitely think he's a point per minute monster, and a pace-up spot, he can get you those peripherals at a per minute clip. And if he's going to have another opportunity at 30 minutes, I'm going to have to keep playing TJ McConnell, so be cognitive of his existence. Next game, we'll talk about the Washington Wizards hosting the Rockets. The Wizards beat the Celtics yesterday. Westbrook played 29 minutes. The trend has been to hold him out the second leg of back-to-backs, creating an opportunity for Bradley Beal. We talked about how Levine performs without Lauri Markkanen, but how about some Bradley Beal without Westbrook? So Bradley Beal, DKP by game log without Russell Westbrook. We'll go last 10 games on him, although I don't know if there even is 10 games this season without Westy. But you'll see it's a lot. 55, 51, 70, 64, 47, 47, 60. There's a 40, 52, 48. When is that 39.8? That was last March, so last season against a tough defense, Miami. Everything else everything that occurred this season from December on, 47 and above. And it only got higher. So this today he catches no Ish Smith to help him out. Ish Smith's listed as out. And he's going against a Rockets team that will be without Oladipo, and he's so cheap on DraftKings. Southside of 9K. I just don't know how Bradley Beal isn't one of the highest sought-after plays on the slate. And I think from where I'm sitting now, he has to be a Tier 1 and potentially a Tier 1 on both sides. So talk about the Rockets. Victor Oladipo, he's not going to play in this game with a foot injury. It's the second game missed with the injury. Rockets' recent stretch has been pretty volatile as we've watched the team transform into a slower-paced offense and a solid defense at full strength. John Wall has not been astonishing at 7,500, but if you look at that game against the Knicks last time out and kind of read the tea leaves of what could have happened, they got blown out by the Knicks, but the Knicks are one of the slowest teams in basketball, and they're also a better than the public perceives defense. So first of all, pace-wise, the Knicks run the slowest pace in basketball, and when it comes to defensive efficiency, the Knicks have the second best defensive efficiency. Not a lot of people will really give the Knicks credit for that. The reason why the Knicks lose a lot or they're not great is their offense is bad, but their defense has been pretty strong. With Mitchell Robinson being out, maybe it takes a step backward going forward, but the reason I want to bring that up is because the Rockets faced a top 2 defense, bottom 1 pace, and John Wall didn't have a great game. 31 minutes, but he took 20 shots, and the peripherals weren't there. We expect the assists to go up, and the matchup today gets exponentially better, right? It's not an elite spot by any stretch, but without Oladipo, we expect him to kind of lead this team. DeMarcus Cousins remains at a price at 6,100, 6,200, where I'm already getting pushback, right? Oh, Boogie's lost a step. He's not getting it done, blah, 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 blah. Call me the Boogie truther, whatever it is. I think per minute he's still been efficient for fantasy. There's been a lot of blowouts in his last 4 games. I mean, look at this stretch. Got blown out by Charlotte, got blown out by New Orleans, got blown out by the Knicks, and then the game that was competitive was 25 minutes against the defense of Bam Adebayo, and he got 38. We're not talking about 8K, 10K Boogie here. 6,200 against the Washington Wizards. I might roster one of you guys. I'm hoping that the Wizards don't really have the propensity to blow out the Rockets here, because the Wizards just really don't usually blow teams out, and without their starting point guard, I trust this game to stay a little bit closer. So I'm gonna go back to the Boogie well here. This would be a great opportunity for you guys to kind of share your thoughts on what you're doing with DeMarcus Cousins, because I've really seen a lot of people against Boogie, and I'm not ready to give up on Boogie. I'm not gonna quit on him. And then I want to talk about Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon, without one of John Wall or Oladipo, has drawn some starts, and he's really picked up some scoring responsibilities, moving as his team has moved on from James Harden. 24 real points, 17, 23, 26, 20, 22. So he's really given us a strong shot at 20-plus real points. I imagine more of the same here. And if you look at the last couple games, again, medium, low-pace blowouts. I think 30 minutes plus is still here for him without Oladipo. So I'm going to be quite bullish on him. I think 30-plus fantasy points is the expectation. He's not doing much for peripherals, but I do think he's going to potentially have a case to lead the team in scoring. So give me a strong look at Eric Gordon early on, and then we'll just watch this news as it develops throughout the day. I could see myself being down or out on the rest of the Wizards. You can make a case for all Neto on FanDuel at 3,700. If Ish Smith is out, we got Westbrook out, or Westbrook
probably out. Then the minutes for him might just be too much to look away from. But he's one of those guys that he's always over-owned for the spot. He had this one blow-up game, DKP by game log, without Russell Westbrook this season. He had this one blow-up game where he dropped 40. And then ever since then, he has been massive chalk every time out. And he's gotten you 21 or less. And that just really does not go far in tournaments. And that's just more of what Raul Neto really is. That 40 is an anomaly. And when you look past this season and 2 seasons past, it's just not what you should expect. However, without Ish Smith, I could see him muscling his way to 25 plus DKP. And in that 40-point game, he did get 30 minutes. I think there's a chance he could push the 30-minute threshold in this one because of the circumstances. So on FanDuel, I'd be a buyer. On DraftKings, I'm willing to kind of set the one out on 4,600 unless something crazy happened. Mo Wagner's doggone cheap on DraftKings. Yesterday, he did get extended minutes. I don't know what their plan is at center. Wagner, I wouldn't get overly happy to play Wagner, and I think last year he was one of the higher fouls per minute guys. So even though he got 22 minutes yesterday in what was a surprisingly lopsided game, you just look past that, and it's just a conglomerate of mixed-in minute results. So I'm really just kind of sticking with Bradley Beal here, and I don't want to get to anyone else if I don't have to. You can make cases for Hachimura, guys like that, but I'm going to stay away. So give me an early look at Boogie, John Wall, Eric Gordon, and I'm curious to see where the total is on this one. I don't think I have a total yet because I don't think Westbrook has been officially ruled out. We're just kind of assuming that's the case. Let's keep it moving. Next game, Knicks hosting the Atlanta Hawks. DeAndre Hunter remains out for 7 to 10 weeks. Rajon Rondo's out with a back injury. Chris Dunn out with an ankle injury. Tony Snell questionable with an Achilles. That's a big one. Mitchell Robinson of the Knicks, he fractured his right hand. He will be down 4 to 6 weeks. Nerlens Noel saw 32 minutes against the Houston Rockets in the first game after Mitchell Robinson's injury. Taj Gibson saw 16. I would expect Noel to continue to hold the bulk of the load of minutes at center. Julius Randle, another spot for him to project, pretty rock solid. This game total is 216.5. I'd be willing to. I kind of expect it to go up a little bit more throughout the day. So 216 is what I got it opening at. I think the Hawks. I think their defense has taken some strides backwards. I think we talked about how bad the Knicks' offensive efficiency is. I do think that has some potential to go up as they've added Derrick Rose to the mix. Tibbs has some guards that he's trusting. Emmanuel Quickley's evolving. They got Alec Burks in the mix, and Randall's just doing Randall things. So I kind of have faith that the Knicks' offense gets better, but it really can't help but get better. So I'm kind of watching that. Overall, though, should be a pace down spot for the Hawks. I still think Trae Young has a chip in a chair for 50 plus DKP. That's the median range of outcome in his last 10 games. Kevin Huerter, expecting deep minutes out of him again. And then John Collins, we've heard his name shopped around in trade rumors a lot. Those two guys are fine. I do think Noel is a guy that's going to be leaned on a lot on both sites. 4,400 on DraftKings, 4,800. I'm fine with giving him a shot. I tapered my expectations, but both teams actually give up an elevated amount of blocks per game, which is kind of interesting considering their paces are medium to low. So I don't mind the spot for either team here, the Knicks or the Hawks, when it comes to their bigs, Capella and Noel. Collins is somebody to watch a little bit more just because his minutes have been trending up, way up. Look at some of the minute games, 36 minutes for against the Pacers, 38, 34, 32, 40, 35. So they've been leaning on him a lot. Historically, we've seen him get into some foul problems, but if he can keep his hands to himself against Julius Randle, it's kind of cheap. I could see him getting there. Julius Randle, 8.6 on FanDuel, 8.7 on DK. I really got no pushback on that one. He'll probably be somebody I'm pretty high on. I love playing high-minute, high-usage bigs, and when they're under 9K and they have a chip in a chair for 50, I'm in. I'm a buyer. That's all I got on that game. Let's keep it moving. Sixers at the Utah Jazz. The two teams with the most wins going at it in this game. Utah Jazz is a league best 12-2 at home, and the Sixers are 500, 7-7 on the road. Jazz have the highest net differential in the league as well. So there's a good chance the Jazz continue to dominate at home. We've seen them put some good teams to rest in Utah, including the Milwaukee Bucks, kind of blowing them out and not really playing their best basketball when it comes to chucking threes efficiently. Shake Milton's going to be out with an ankle injury for the Sixers, while Joel Embiid is questionable with a back tightness. If he cannot go, Dwight Howard and Tony Bradley will fill in, and Tony Bradley's a fun revenge narrative guy. If you guys want to pencil that one down for you narrative street lovers. On the Jazz side, Mike Conley's going to be out again with a hamstring. This is going to be his 5th game missed. Mitchell has sustained a 32.3% usage rate and 441 minutes without Mike Conley this season, holding on to a 30% assist rate, and he's been a fantasy point per minute. So 8-3, 8K for Mitchell. Probably too cheap. Great chance for him to be a tier 1 for me. A 228 total is very targetable. It's one of the higher totals you'll see for a home team that has a pace like the Jazz, but their style of basketball has been kind of anti what has become trendy the last couple of years. We've seen a lot of run it up, track meet, shoot threes teams. Utah Jazz still kind of keeping it slow, but shooting threes, so more methodical in their shot selection. I love Donovan Mitchell at 8K on both sides. Joe Ingles has been a solid shot at 30 fantasy points. And then Jordan Clarkson, last 2 slates, he's been just too cheap on FanDuel. Today, he comes in at 5.559. Still has a puncher's chance at 30 fantasy points. So I'll be a buyer in that. But obviously the news here is Joel Embiid. Embiid, some of us might think he might duck here on the road, some altitude in Utah, and he's going against a top defender, Rudy Gobert. He has an MVP campaign in the making. We'll see if he opts to play this one. Out of curiosity, Embiid versus Gobert, DKP by game log versus Rudy Gobert. Let's go last 10 games. I'm kind of curious to see how these centers have done against each other. See, Embiid 40, 56, 61, 44, 26. So a wide range of outcomes. And then if we run it back, Rudy Gobert, DKP by game log versus Joel Embiid. Let's go last 10 games, but it looks like we have 5 games of sample size. And we're getting 52, 48, 47, 28, 22. So last 3 games were fantastic results for him. So something to keep an eye on. We'll talk more about that on today's stream. 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. Next game I want to talk about, Golden State Warriors hosting the Cavaliers. Cavs will be at night 2 of a back-to-back. Kevin Love's out. Larry Nance is still going to be down 4 to 6 more weeks. Matthew Dellavedova out with a concussion. For the Warriors, James Wiseman will miss another week, and Looney and Chris are still down. Andre Drummond sat out last night's game for rest. His last few games have shown reduced minutes due to position depth, blowouts, foul trouble. I get that pushback, but man, is that price on FanDuel, $6,500, hard to just look away from, right? So we kind of discussed this yesterday in their matchup against the Clippers. He ended up not playing. If he plays today, $6,500 on FanDuel is just really, really cheap. I still don't put deep minutes on him. I think I had him for 25 minutes yesterday. I probably pushed that 25 back to today. And if he gets 25 minutes against a fast-paced Warriors that do not rebound very efficiently, 18.1% offensive rebound rate on the season, 76% defensive rebound rate on the season, I think Drummond has a shot at $6,500 to be 1.5 to nearly 2x per minute. So I do like that. If Drummond's down again, I love Jared Allen in fast-paced spots, and you might even see Jared Allen start at the 4, even though this is a spot to go small. Draymond Green scared some people last game with an injury, but he's probable. He's 7'4", 6'7" on both sides, respectively. We've seen him look a little bit more like vintage Draymond, so I'm not anti-playing him. I do think we're gonna slow the pace down a little bit, and at 6,700 in tournaments, I probably want a great shot at 40 fantasy points. Can he get it? I think he could, but I do think it's a little bit more riskier. And he's another guy that kind of tends to be more owned than he should be, but we definitely seen some tournament winners out of him, dropping 40 and 50 in that Texas road trip, 3 games straight, 2 games with Dallas, game with San Antonio, but in the Dallas and in the 2 Dallas games, I think one of them was overtime, 130 plus, 140 plus real points. So if you think they score 130 plus real points today, obviously Draymond Green's going to have an elevated amount of assists. He's going to have baby poor man triple doubles, right? We'll see if he'll get double-digit real points today, but the assist, rebounds, and then the stock should be there. Steals, certainly the steals. The Cavs on the season, how are they on steals per game allowed? 8.4 steals per game allowed. And if we put that in the team metrics tab, just kind of see where that is in the grand scheme of the slate. Steals per game allowed. Cavs are 4th in turnovers, so good spot to project some steals for Draymond. So I don't think you're crazy to play Draymond. Not something I'm in love with. Steph Curry right back to the well on him. 40-plus real points is a range of outcomes if this game stays competitive. I got an 8-point spread right now. Wiggins, Oubre, spin the wheel, make a deal. Always a revenge game for Wiggins against the Cavs, right? We'll talk more about that game on today's stream. Next game on the docket, the Miami Heat at the Los Angeles Clippers. Paul George is currently listed as questionable. He's missed 5 straight games with a toe injury. Goran Dragic is out with an ankle. Avery Bradley's out with a calf. Myers Leonard, Chris Silva are also out. Kawhi Leonard was rolled out after the main slate lock last night, listed with a lower leg bruise, likely precautionary considering the matchup was the Cavs. Maybe they thought he could handle the Cavs. Or the team without Kawhi or Paul George could handle the Cavs. Lou Will said, I got you. And that maybe kind of suggests that maybe Paul George may not be ready to go today. So kind of watch for that. They've been pretty good about giving us that PG news pretty early on. If Kawhi plays, I've preached it over and over on the live streams. Kawhi Leonard's results without Paul George are great. Kawhi Leonard, DKP by game log without Paul George. Let's go last 10 games. At this price point, I'm looking for 50-plus fantasy points, and that's about what he's given us in all but one game in his last 10 games without Paul George. Miami Heat, they still feel like a great defense, right? A team, Jimmy Butler, we don't want to pick on, but you've been able to pick on them. So I definitely think Kawhi Leonard can get the best of them if he sustains that usage and that role without Paul George. With Paul George, he's probably still somebody you could play, but I wouldn't be as bullish. And then on the Miami Heat side, Jimmy Butler's an interesting discussion going against Kawhi Leonard defense. He's 8-9 on FanDuel, but just 8-2 on DraftKings. And really, ever since late January, with games without Tyler Hero, games without Goran Dragic, he hasn't gotten you less than 44, except for the last game, which we talked about at Utah. Utah is just Utah. If you remember a couple years back, San Antonio Spurs were just lockdown defense. You just didn't play against them. That's what Utah is, especially Utah at home. So I'm willing to forgive and forget Jimmy's lackluster game, but even in that game, he didn't miss 40 by but a three-pointer, which he doesn't really shoot a ton of those. But I'm looking for 40-plus fantasy points. I definitely think that's in the range of outcomes here against the Clippers. He would not be a tier 1 early on because I think at that price range, I got Donovan Mitchell just chilling there. We got a just under 9K Bradley Beal, so it's not reasonable to suggest that I'll have a ton of Beal and Donovan Mitchell while still having the salary to have a ton of Butler. But he's certainly somebody that has to make the player pool early on in pencil, and I'm not really going to have a reason to push back for now. We'll see what that total is when it comes out, and then we'll look at the last game on the slate of our first look. Remember, guys, you guys can get access to the spreadsheet with the VIP pass at rundfs.com, and we did add the player props tab for those of you betting on sports books for FanDuel, DraftKings, and PrizePicks. Sign up for PrizePicks. Try it out. Really good deal we got going on. Code Gundacker. That'll get you up to $100 instant deposit bonus. You ain't got to deposit $100, but know that you could get it matched. The $100 could become $200. $10 becomes $20, and it's a good deal. Brooklyn Nets at the Sacramento Kings. Kings, night 2 of a back-to-back. Fox ended up playing last night. Marvin Bagley did not. Kevin Durant's going to be out for at least 2 games due to a mild left hamstring strain. And then DeAndre Jordan, who missed the last game, which made KD start at center, not Jeff Green. He's expected to play this game. He only missed the last game due to personal reasons, but Durant being out for 2 games, pretty big here. Marvin Bagley's missed the last 2 games for the Kings. De'Aaron Fox came back after a 1-game absence against Orlando. This game should have no defense, and I'm very, very excited to see if the total drops at a ridiculous number. I'm talking like 240 plus, because I think the defenses are bad enough to see that happen. The only thing that would maybe stall it is maybe the Sacramento Kings offense. But man, when Hield and Fox and Halliburton and those guys are on, I think they might surprise some people. The Brooklyn Nets without Kevin Durant have been lackluster to say the least, and I would argue to say that they could be the worst defense in basketball without KD, and obviously moving on from Taron Prince, Jared Allen, LeVert, guys like that. So this game should be a shootout. If we look at that team metrics chart in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet, defensive rating, Sacramento Kings have the worst defensive rating in basketball, and the Brooklyn Nets have graduated to top 10. But I still think if you take out Kevin Durant, it gets even worse. I wonder if I could do that on the on-off court tool at Fantasy Ladders. I think we can. So let's do that just for fun. I'm going to see how bad their defense really has been. So we'll take off all the people that got traded. Taron Prince, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, and then we'll take off KD here. I'm not going to put these other guys or take those other guys off, but I am going to put on Harden, Kyrie, and maybe Jared or DeAndre Jordan. Actually, let's just put Joe Harris. I think those will be the 3 highest minute players for this team. So when we have that, they have a defensive rating of 127.7 points per 100 possessions. 90 minutes of sample size, but that would technically be 10 points worse than the Kings. So that defense is not where it's at, and I love this game stack early on. I think I'd be all over anyone that can get me close to 30 minutes. And I think my favorite play might be Rashawn Holmes, man. Write that one down. I love him in a spot like this, especially if Marvin Bagley misses yet again. Rashawn Holmes last night, just 22 minutes. Game got lopsided. I think in a neutral game without foul trouble, I think Rashawn Holmes could push 30 minutes. So I do like him in some pace-up spots. So I do like Rashawn Holmes, and we've seen him drop as much as 50 fantasy points this season. I feel like he's played against the Nets earlier this season. Let me see. Holmes against the Nets. No, he hasn't. All right. DeAndre Jordan would be worth a look, I think, at 4,500 on DraftKings. He's not a fun click, but the Sacramento Kings, like we said, their defense really, really bad. If we go to that team DVP chart in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet, the Kings are giving up the 3rd most fantasy points per game to opposing centers, right in front of the Brooklyn Nets. So it's not out of the range of outcomes for DeAndre Jordan to have a big rebounding game with a couple stocks in there. Not really going to bank on him to have a lot of real points, but you see in that Pacers game, he dropped 36 fantasy points. At 4,500, we definitely take a chip in a chair at 30. So it might be an uncomfortable click. A fun quote came from Kyrie Irving after that last game. Kyrie essentially looked at James Harden and said, "You're the point guard, I'm the shooting guard," and I think that's the role we expect these guys to play, and I think they can survive here, and I think they can coincide. 10.7 for James Harden. We're normally looking for 60-plus fantasy points at that price point, and then Kyrie, you're looking for 50-plus. Could this be one of those high-usage combos, right? The KD Westbrooks, the Porzingis Lucas, the Steph and Clays, the Westbrook Paul Georges. Is there a chance that Irving and Harden combine for 120 fantasy points today in this matchup, right? I think there is. So that'll be something I'm watching. I'm expecting deeper minutes on Jeff Green here. This game should have a high total. I think it will. We'll see. Anyway, that's our first look at today's slate. Guys, I'll be live right here on this channel later today, set for 2 p.m. Eastern. Remember, there is a Top Shot drop, but they have that whole queue system, so it's not like we have to sit there, refresh, click, blah, 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 blah. But I know a lot of you guys play it, so be with me, chill with me, I'll have it on, we'll talk. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you like what you heard. Like I said, you can get deeper access to me in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. You can get 24/7 access to that with a subscription at RunDFS.com. And then if you guys just want to hang out some more, join me today on the live stream. We're very interactive. Pretty much every 5 minutes I'm catching up on chat. So if you guys are looking for an interactive stream to be part of and talk back with, drop some ideas off each other, definitely think this is the place to be. Twitter.com/Gundacker. If you guys got anything else for me. Otherwise, I love you guys. I hope you have a great Monday. I hope you stay warm. Hope you stay safe. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money.